Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray are the best duo in Nuggets history. What's it going to take for them to be the all-time greatest amongst the greats? Can they do it? Is it possible? Or how do they at least get in the top 10? We'll talk about it on Locked On Nuggets.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for joining us and making us part of your day, being an everydayer, and making us your first listen. We appreciate you guys joining us Monday through Friday, whether you're on the Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pocket Casts, or joining us at youtube.com/Locked On Nuggets. We appreciate each and every one of you that have signed up to be an everydayer, which you can do at lockedonnuggets.supercast.com. Make sure you go check that out. Link in the description as well. Today's show is brought to you by nobody. We are, however, I want to let you know, the number one sports podcast network in all the land. It has been decided. It has been declared. The Locked On Podcast Network is the number one sports podcast network in the land. My name is Matt Moore. I've been covering the Denver Nuggets for 14 seasons as a credentialed reporter. I write for the Denver Dig. I write for Harvard Paroxysm. I write for Fansided. I write for Action Network. And I'm the co-host of Locked On NBA daily, every day, Monday through Friday. Joining me is Swipa. You can catch him on his YouTube page at SwipaCam, on Twitter at SwipaCam after every single Nuggets game. He's on the Player's Choice. He's on Locked On NFL Game Night, Locked On NBA Game Night, the Press Box. Did I miss anything?
That's it.
I got it. I got them all. Them all. Today's show, we're going to talk about Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic's all-time duos because they had a great discussion about that over at Player's Choice. We're going to talk about some of Denver's defensive wrinkles. I'm working on a big thing about some of the changes that Jared Dudley's installed and some of the surprising numbers that I was not prepared to find and that are pretty encouraging as far as Denver Nuggets defense goes. We'll talk about the how the Nuggets can get a win over a shorthanded Magic team on Thursday night as well. We'll only touch on that a little bit because we only got a couple hours before tip-off. We will have a post-game show after that game with me and Ryan Blackburn. Make sure to go check out Ryan's work at Mile High Sports. So let's start here. So you guys had a conversation today on Player's Choice about the best duos of all time. And you're talking about Jokic and Murray on Monday's show as far as like how great they are together. Why don't you set up the conversation for us and let me know what your thoughts are?
Yeah, so typically when we talk about historical NBA players, we always kind of measure them by success and what they won. So when you're having this conversation about duos and who was the best, it's not as much about like from a synergistic standpoint of how they play together and the layers of advantages they create offensively and the things that they're able to do. Is typically how many times did you go to the playoffs together? How many times did you go to the finals together? How many finals did you win together? How many MVPs did you win between each other? How many All-NBA did you win between each other? So, like, my list, for instance, had, like, Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, Duncan, Ginobili, Jerry West, Elgin Baylor, Draymond Green, Wilt Chamberlain with Jerry West, Magic and Kareem, Steph and KD, Jordan Pippen, and then Shaq and Kobe. All of those players are, like, preeminent, all-time great individual players. But Jamal, because he hasn't accomplished any of the MVPs, any of the All-NBA stuff, he's kind of obviously the odd man out there. But I guess when I was like thinking about this, Matt, I was sitting here putting it together. I was just like, I was listening to some of the commentary about the Nuggets duo since the finals, going into the finals, going into the playoff last year, the year before, and just the narrative, because I watch all the away broadcasters, so I always hear what they have to say about a Nuggets team they're seeing for the first time or for the second time that season, especially when you're playing versus teams in the Eastern Conference. And you can just hear the way people talk about Jamal and Jokic. It's almost as if they're just like playing a different sport to a degree. Like they've mastered the two-man game. They've mastered pick and roll, and whether it's at the nail, whether running dribble handoffs, double drag. If you run a double drag, well, then Jokic is so good. Jamal's carrying the defense all the way under, empty side pick and roll. Jokic just pop out. Or now they run a pick and roll. They're pre-rotating to Jokic, and so you got to dive off the other side. But now Jamal has an ice. It's just so many layers, Matt. So for me, it's like, I think there's a world, Matt, if they win another title, especially this season with this field, I think there's a conversation with 3 or 4 MVPs from Jokic, quietly, I think, all NBA season from Jamal Murray and Jokic in the same year. And they win another title that's 2. I think they're real world where they're top 10 in duos that's ever played the sport.
It's a really interesting question. So where do you have Stockton and Malone?
I don't.
At all?
I just think that, like, some of this is also just like, I'm not as high on Stockton. Malone, I've talked about Malone multiple times. I think he's a really good player. I think there's argument with him and Charles Barkley and from the mid-'90s, early 90s. I think in the late 90s, it was clearly Malone. I don't think Malone was ever the best player in the world. I think he was all really good. Don't get me wrong. I've just been a John Stockton guy. Never. But I do think he's really good, though, as well. But I also think if you ask me, like, in a vacuum, I think Jamal Murray probably could be a better player than John Stockton. Like, me personally.
The assist numbers are so crazy, though.
They are. They're crazy. But I don't think Stockton's as good of a passer as the numbers say, though, either. Like, I'm more of an eye test guy when it comes to that passing stuff. I think I look at him with compared to Magic, compared to Nash, compared to Jason Kidd, compared to LeBron. I mean, it's just not even like James Harden even. I just, it's not even the same kind of passing, when I watch Stockton play as opposed to those other players. But he's also a really good player. It's not trying to discount him. I'm just not as high on him.
He also was such a good shooter that he probably would have been better in today's league because, like, he did have range. Like, he was a 38% 3-point shooter in the 90s, which is like, and he was only taking 1.5 a game. It's like, yeah, your efficiency is going to go down with the volume, but he has such good touch. Like, Stockton's obviously turned into a wackadoo, but I think at the time, I do think like the longevity, I think, has to matter with that. Okay, so I assume you have Jordan and Pippen number 1.
Well, that was debatable. I think it's Shaq and Kobe more than likely, just at their peak, what they did together.
Okay.
But again,
right. I'll push.
But
Back.
The problem is like Shaq was so unbelievably great over those 4 years, and then Kobe for the last 2.5 years was all NBA Kobe. It was almost like it's hard to deal with that. So it's either Jordan and Scotty or Scotty.
Did those guys make each other better? Really?
I mean, they were just great individual talents.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, but it's really hard to be like.
They were really, and like I think Shaq dominates in any, because like he was dominant in the mid 90s when you had the greatest crop of centers of all time. Like Shaq's verified to me. But like 99 to 04 in their peak is like one of the worst stretches of NBA basketball of all time. The Nets with Jason Kidd, Richard Jefferson,
Keith Van Horn,
and Kerry Kills made the finals. Like
Rick Smith was starting center.
If you want to talk now, I think Magic and Kareem probably have a better.
But it's later years Kareem, though. You got to remember, you got to add in the fact that they won their title from Kareem. Remember, Kareem started his run really like 71 on. Magic got there in 79, 80. They won that championship. They won 5 together. But then by the time they get to like the later Magic peak Magic, maybe best player in the world, then they get James Worthy added to that trio that they have. And so Kareem was still good, but he just wasn't peak ever all time Kareem at that point.
Like, I think if we're talking about duos, them having a combination of them together needs to be the problem. Yeah. And I never found like Kobe and Shaq to be like, oh man, what beautiful basketball between them. It was just like, give the ball to Shaq. He's bigger than everyone. Oh, he scored. Oh, Kobe took a bunch of shots and made some of them. Cool. Like that was it. Like that was the formula. And that was enough in 2000 to be a 3P champion.
Are you not of the mind you don't think Shaq could be the best player in the world now?
I really don't know how. I don't know how to visualize it, to be honest with you. Like I don't know what to do about it. Like I don't know how to like conceptualize a player that was that skilled in terms of footwork, agility, and ball handling in today's NBA with how defenses like he might have been somewhere in between. Well, so like Embiid had to kind of tail off and take more jump shots, and his MVP seasons were mostly built on his jumper versus like Shaq would just like put you in the basket, right? And they would send help now, but Shaq was such a good passer one-handed. Like he would just hold that ball up and kick it out. Like I could see him averaging 7, 8, 9 assists just because they'd have to double him so much and he would kick the shooters. Like you had to double him or triple.
So you think he'd be an even better offensive player now?
He'd be a more complete offensive player now, because he was never like he wasn't unwilling to make the pass. He just never really had to. Like his assist totals weren't higher because he didn't need to.
Yeah.
So like I don't know how to visualize it where it's like, do you need a jumper in today's NBA? It helps for sure. Most of the big men have it. But what are you going to do with him rummaging down the lane and pick and roll coverage? Although now with how they call things, like how many guys are just going to take charges and pick up offensive fouls off of him? Like I don't think he gets the whistle he does now. He did that. Right. And everyone talks about like how much he got hit, but it's like, yeah, but you're also not allowed to play as physical as Shaq did. So I don't know what the answer is there. I think that Jokic and Murray are going to have to win 3 titles to crack it because of Jokic's individual excellence, right? Because Jokic won 2 MVPs when Murray didn't play the full season. So with that being the kind of idea here, like I think that takes some of it away, and that's a shame because I think Jamal's like now a better one is like all-time playoff duos, and on that one I think Jokic and Murray are already there. I like yeah, I mean I would take Jokic and Murray. I'm higher on Stockton Malone than you are, but I'd take that pairing in the playoffs instantly over them. Would you do Steph and Clay or would you do Steph and Draymond?
Oh, Steph and Draymond.
Okay, so I think Steph and Clay was like the combo I will remember as the duo. And those two actually had really good chemistry. Like Draymond obviously finds like he was great at understanding how to get Steph assists, but like I actually love Draymond's game, even though he's all the stuff that comes with him. But I do kind of think like Steph and Clay, I think I would have them top 4, 3, maybe. I would have those two above Kobe and Shaq.
I think you should do more of these things. I think you'd be very good at them. I think people like reading that stuff from you.
Yeah. I'll also don't. I think Wade and Shaq was really good. Might be as good as Shaq and Kobe, but that's a hot take for another time. Coming up next, we'll talk about the Denver defense. I've been doing some work on stuff, and I want to talk to Swipa about it and get his thoughts on it. There's some positive signs to the Denver defense. We'll talk about that coming up on Locked On Nuggets. Today's show is brought to you by Robinhood. Nobody knows your money goals better than you. Robinhood puts you in control of your money with tools that work as hard as you do. Locking in on every opening, beating your PR, beating it again, channel that drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control of your money. Trade stocks and ETFs, options, futures, and crypto all on one platform. You can now build and execute your own trades from a desktop with Robinhood Legends advanced tools, or take advantage of the new Robinhood strategies with a tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts. You expect more from yourself. Expect more from your money. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, that's Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your move. We're also brought to you today by Gusto. Let's be real. No one starts a business for the joy of calculating tax withholdings or managing payroll spreadsheets. That's where Gusto comes in, to take the stress out of payroll, benefits, and HR so you can focus on running your business and supporting your team. Gusto is the all-in-one remote-friendly payroll and HR platform that makes managing your team simple, transparent, and fast. Whether you're hiring, onboarding, or paying employees, Gusto helps you do it all in one place without the hassle or hidden fees. Gusto's automated tools like offer letters, onboarding materials, and direct deposits are going to save you hours every week. Knowing you can reach certified HR experts anytime gives you real peace of mind. Try Gusto today at gusto.com/LockedOnNBA and get 3 months free when you run your first payroll. That's right, 3 months of free payroll at Gusto, GUSTO.com/LockedOnNBA. One more time, that's gusto.com/LockedOnNBA. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. Back here on Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for joining us and making this part of your day. Appreciate you guys being with us here on a Thursday. Swipa and Matt Moore with you. Okay. I happened to across a number. Here's how it started. I noticed that Spencer Jones is a really good defender, but he keeps giving up baseline drives. And to me, that's like maddening, where I'm like, why are you giving them that lane? Especially with the fact that the Nuggets have such poor rim protection with Jokic. And so I was like, why? Like, why are you? I was like, he's too smart of a defender. This has to be like tactical. And so I went and talked to him. And this is the slicing mechanism that David Adelman has talked about in his press conferences. And it's a really interesting tactic, honestly, where the idea is and I'm going to put together some diagrams for both the post and put it on the on our everydayers chat. So you're closing out to the side of the open court. So if they're in the corner, say, you're closing out, let's say the guy standing in the left corner, you're closing out to his right, your left, because you're trying to contest the shot and take away the pass. And the objective is to try and narrow that to where you're also able to recover and stop in baseline. Like that's the ideal. It's like he just has to reset. But if you're taking away anything, and the idea is what you do is you kill the extra pass. So it's not just high pick and roll coverage, guy jump passes over to the weak side corner, and then you're scrambling on the X out. By doing this, you remove the threat of that above the break shooter, which means that extra pass, good look to great look, you're killing that. You're accepting that there might be an okay look, which is why Denver keeps giving up corner threes, because you do have to close out. It's tough because you can't blow by, right? And you can't you got to be still disciplined with your closeout. You have to make sure you don't allow that baseline drive, which they do pretty often. And you also have to contain that corner three attempt. And a lot of guys will just shoot that. The question is that number better or worse than what they would allow by allowing that extra kick? And here was the number that really caught me off guard, man, because if you had asked me, all right, what are they allowing on spot up threes? I would have been like, well, I know they haven't shot well, but they're probably really bad at spot up three defensively. And that is not accurate. The Denver Nuggets in spot up plays this season have actually been terrific defensively. They've been really good in those categories of being able to contain and get stops in those mechanisms. They've actually been what I think is surprisingly awesome in that. They are 77th percentile league wide in points per possession on spot up plays via Synergy Sports.
Yeah,
so
very good ranking.
Now the question is well, okay, so what's the problem on defense? And the answer is they are 3rd percentile. They are 3rd worst in pick and roll ball handler. So they allow guys to get downhill. Now you may have seen on Twitter a chart from Auto NBA talking about All NBA talking about the best pick and roll duos direct. That's second spectrum data, and that's a little bit more accurate than Synergy is. We start off a conversation about this, but it's Christian and Nikola. It's guys with at least 100 possessions.
Christian, Nikola, and then the second one was it Watton? Was Peyton? Or no, Cam Johnson. It was Cam Johnson.
Cam Johnson.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what's surprising is Wave, and that matches the test on here on Synergy, because the same thing happens when you look at pick and roll data. Is Cam grades out very well, and Christian grades out well, and Peyton and Bruce grade out very poorly, which is what I've kind of talked about with the familiarity of playing with Yoke and knowing how to play that, and guys that know how to play together a little bit more in those kind of lineups. But what I do think is kind of interesting is this strategy is something that I think is really interesting because it's less about X outs, and I think that takes away a lot of the stress from the rotations. And it does kind of contain a lot of these things. Now, again, my concern is that this does allow things if you don't execute that closeout correctly, it's a baseline drive for a dunk. And I talked to Spencer the other night about it, and Jones, was I screwed up on 2 of them, and I can't allow those kind of baseline drives. And there's a lot of them. Even there's one that I pinpointed where AG makes the closeout, and then Yoke just doesn't come over and challenge. And there's a lot of these are. Whether it's, I don't think it's Yoke doesn't want to. I really don't think that's it. I think it's that he either doesn't think he can get there or he doesn't want to risk the foul, because he does foul a lot when he tries. When Yoke tries to contest on these, he gives up a lot of ones, which I think is a problem. But my bigger point in all this is that as bad as the defense has been over the last couple of weeks, and it has been bad, I do see a lot of signs of defensive improvements. There's just been a lot of improvements.
What do you make note of this? So something I noticed in my notes over the last several weeks. So you can notice this versus teams that have wings like Kevin Durant, DeMar DeRozan, other players of that archetype. Have you noticed that when they get them in the corner and in the baseline, what they're doing?
Tell me.
They're sending Jokic automatic double baseline, whatever side baseline they are. And they're basically then moving over, corner over, where they're sending the opposite side man to guard in front, essentially like to front the big, and then they're just slanting down the wing and basically playing two in between corner wing. And I think it's actually worked. I don't know what the numbers or how you would even be able to quantify that, but they seem to be very, and because what they've done and what it feels like, and you tell me if you've got a different feeling. Remember, they used to give up a lot of points right at that nail spot when they ran that pick and roll. They would just concede. That was the Rashawn Holmes area where he would score 20 points a game, DeAndre Ayton. Now, they might get scored on that, but what they've done is they basically have said, we're going to actually send your shooter as close to the baseline as possible. They're going to gather Jokic, use your length, and they basically have tried to cut off that part of the field, I think, in order to cut off the passing angle to the middle of the floor to kind of eliminate those easy points. Have you noticed that on film at all?
I've noticed them. One, the zone helps a little bit with this, and then two, they've iced a little bit more this year than I've noticed. At least it looks like ice to me. I'm not an expert, but it looks more like ice a lot of times in pick and roll coverage. So to me, it looks a lot like they're trying to keep them away from the middle. And it makes a lot of sense where whether you're playing pick and roll coverage at the level or if you're just like rotating, because what you'll notice, some of this is if the hole in the zone, right? If you're running 2-3, the easy hole is that flash the big middle, right? And try and cut there. They've been really aggressive in their pickup points on those kind of sequences. There is a little bit of, hey, we're really not going to allow stuff at the rim. We're going to try and protect that. Now, like, the numbers haven't been terrific on that. And this is where, like, this is the stuff where I get when, like, the numbers reflect that Jokic has been really good defensively. That's where I'm like, I don't know, man. Because, like, I'm watching a lot of this pick and roll coverage, and they just, like, you're able to get to the rim way too easily in pick and roll versus with Nikola is defending in the pick and roll if they don't contain it. I do think, though, that some of this gets into they have so many pitches now in terms of like how hard they're going. And I think one of the things that teams at their level of execution, think back to 2019, the first season, they were really great. It was like, go as hard as possible every single night, try and win as many games as possible.
What were they, 10th in defense or 12th in defense that year?
Yeah. And then now they're in such a spot where it's like, look, we can't be exhausted at the end of the year. So we have to kind of choose our spots. And I think that they've honestly miscalculated on some of that effort versus teams like the Bulls and the Kings. Where it's been, hey, this is like, we can probably get by with the D level on defense. Nope, got to be better than that. So I think that is some of the equation that they're going to have to kind of figure out and manage. They're 22nd in opponent percentage at the rim, but this is an interesting number. They're 7th in opponent rim percentage. So if you force the issue and you get there, you can score. But they are layering the defense to limit you have to work really hard to do that, which is why you see these fast guards who are just like, yeah, I don't care about your defense. I'm just blowing past you. I'm getting to the rim. Like, that's the weakness, right? Sure. Like, that's the weak point that we consistently see. So it is just kind of really interesting that there's been like this really big, I think, improvement.
They're also, I'm looking at looks like they're 8th in mid-range shots allowed as well. What do you think? What do you think it is they're doing? Are they just basically trying to force you outside, do you think, like offensively, to limit the amount of attempts you're getting in the mid-range area and towards the rim?
Yes, I mean, I think that's what's funny is they're 7th in rim. So 8th, are you looking at dunks and threes?
Yeah.
So this is the one where it's inverted. So they actually allowed the 8th highest.
Yeah, sure.
Because the one that they're giving you is they are definitely telling you, if you want to score 35 on pull-up jumpers out of pick and roll, you can do that. And for most teams, I get a little nervous. Now, what's nice about them, I think, is that they have different coverages they can run when they need to. Because in the playoffs, that's where you get into trouble. A lot of teams that have this type of profile are great in the regular season, and they struggle in the playoffs because what do you face in the playoffs? Great, tough shot makers, right? Like, there's one play where they make a series of absolutely incredible closeouts on Houston, and Cam does that same thing where he slices to close out on KD, and KD gets to the middle, and they give him an open pull-up J. KD's 55% on mid-range shots because he's a freak of nature. But your average points possession on a mid-range jumper, even if you're Kevin Durant, is still lower than Denver's standard offensive rating. So you're still losing the possession battle there. As long as it really is, if they're not giving up layups or threes, if they're playing Maury ball defensively, Denver's going to come out ahead every 10 possessions because of how good the offense is with or without Yoke this season. Anyway, those are some of my thoughts about defense. I'll have more on it at the dig and then on our Supercast as well. Coming up, they got a game against the Magic tonight. I want to get Swipa's thoughts on that. And I got like a really interesting stat that makes me excited, but also a little nervous about Denver's upcoming stretch schedule. We'll talk about it coming up on Locked On Nuggets. You ever feel like your money just disappears every month? It happens fast. A few subscriptions here, an impulse buy there, and suddenly the numbers in your bank account don't match the numbers in your head. Boy, has December felt like that for me. Rocket Money helps you get clarity, track every dollar, and stay in control of your finances because managing your money shouldn't feel like a second job. Rocket Money does the heavy lifting for you so you can save more and stress less. Rocket Money finds subscriptions you forgot you were paying for and helps you clean them up quickly. I just did this using Rocket Money. I went through and cleaned up a bunch of stuff that I was like, I'll definitely use this subscription to this app that helps you learn books quick. No, I never used it. I'm looking at NBA stats and watching games. Seeing all your spending on one dashboard makes it easier to understand where your money is going. And having the app to find good times to save each month helps you be consistent with your financial goals. Take control of your finances, and control your unwanted subscriptions with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. Back here on Locked On Nugget. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you guys being with us here on a Thursday. Don't forget to check out Boom and Gloom tomorrow with Swipa and Ryan. They'll recap more of the Magic game. Ryan and I will also talk about it tonight after the game. Speaking of, Nuggets take on the Magic tonight. No Franz Wagner, no Jalen Suggs, which is rough for them. They are 3-5 this season without Jalen Suggs in the lineup. They've not been good without Jalen Suggs. But this is a good team coming in. Denver's still been spotty at home. What are you expecting in this one, Swipa?
They're kind of riding a little bit of momentum now. This is 5 in a row. They're on a long one-game home win streak. This should be a game where they take advantage of. I think them not having Jalen Suggs is the biggest news of the year. I don't know if you have noticed this, Matt Moore, but if you don't have an elite defender on Jamal Murray the entire game, and if he's just, decide that today is your day, he's cooking everybody at this point. And I think that there's something to remember last year. I don't know if it was last year or the year before, the Jamal Murray game where he kept trying to try Jalen Suggs and he kept failing, and they lost the game at home in part because of it. And I think that might have been the Paolo triple-double game. I can't remember exactly. Not having him is huge, man. And not having Franz is huge. Now, I, for one, still think Paolo is a good basketball player. I know that's like kind of controversial online for some reason. Yeah. That's a good Magic team. They have a lot of really good players in the roster. They should be – they've been much better defensively as of late. They did not start off the year well. But I do think that this is a very competitive team. And, they're going to see this team a couple of times over the next few weeks. So I think at home, they're riding the momentum. I think, even I don't know if we got an update on whether Peyton Watson is playing or not. I don't think they necessarily need Peyton to win this game. This is going to be another offensive game. Tim Hardaway Jr. stepping into the spot. Julian Strawther might get some minutes off the bench today, or Jalen Pickett, one of them. But I do expect them to win again this year, or this game. Let's see. You're muted.
Somebody commented in the chat, like the Magic's defense is really good. It is on the whole, but they're a team that wins on the margins where they do the things like the 4-factor stuff. They're good at rebounds. They're good at forcing turnovers. They're good at those type of things. Their actual half-court defense isn't necessarily great, and that's very notable. And their defense has been much worse on the road this season. Something to look out for is Wendell Carter Jr. Yoke's going to kill him offensively because Nikola Jokic is the best player in the world. But I've loved how WCJ has played great this year. He's shooting 43% from 3, and he's taken 2.8 attempts per game.
Oh, take the over on 3 attempts.
Yeah, Yoke's going to let him shoot, and he's going to hit some threes tonight, and that's going to be kind of tough. Now, you kind of mentioned Jalen Suggs being out. I do think that's like an interesting question of, okay, who's going to be able to guard Jamal without Suggs on the floor? And they do have good defenders, I think, pretty much everywhere. But without Franz and without Jalen Suggs, I think that does get a lot harder. This is a good Paolo game because obviously no power forward, really. everyone's asked about Peyton. There's no real update. Peyton is he's questionable with that right trunk contusion. He'll probably be a game time decision. So Adelman's been pretty good about being not. One of the things I love about Adelman is he has not been the psychopathic, this is state secrets, I will tell you nothing coach, which drives me insane. I'm like, they don't care if your guy's playing or not. Like, they don't. If he plays, great. If he doesn't play, great. Every team in the league knows that, like, the deal. Like, we all know this. It's okay. You could just say, like, he's going to play or he's not going to play. So he's been pretty good about that. Julian Strother is off the injury list.
Yeah.
So he's no longer on this. Tim Hardaway Jr., though, is questionable with illness. And so if he's out and Peyton's out, that could get pretty rough.
Yeah.
Anthony, one thing to also keep
Anthony
in mind,
Black is nice, brother. He's having a much better year.
He is. I did notice that a lot of his stuff is like in transition. And that's going to have to be a big key here. Is Anthony Black's one of the best transition 3-point shooters in the league this season. So you're going to want to keep a real eye out. They need to get back and hang out there.
By the way, I don't know, you're probably aware of this, but I don't think most of the audience is quite aware that the Nuggets are on pace for like a historic half-court offense this year.
Yeah.
They have a 126 offensive rating in the half-court.
It's insane. It's the highest I've seen. I've never seen a higher one. I will stand by this. They are on pace to be the best offense of all time.
With half their roster in and out of the rotation, it feels like.
I want to give you the stat before we go. Denver versus top 10 teams in point differential. So this is largely built off of, not largely, in part built off of 2 wins versus the Rockets. Okay. Via cleaning the glass, Denver is 5-1 with the second best point differential in the league behind New York. They are a plus 5.3 per 100 possessions versus the top 10 teams in the 10 best teams in the NBA by point differential. They have the number one offense at 123.8. And they have a 118.6 defensive rating that is good for 12th best against those teams who are all elite. So
the Wolves twice.
Yep.
Rockets twice.
That's
and
4.
Then Portland? No, Warriors.
No,
not
one of them. It's I'll look it up in a second. By the
Spurs.
way, yeah. Denver versus top 10 teams in point differential and top 10 teams on defense are 5-0 this season. They have not lost a game, and they still have the third best offense at 121.4. They're a wagon. These are the things where I'm like, when people are like, this is just like last year, I get so infuriated. Because I'm like, look, I'm in the building and I can tell you it's not like that. I'm at the games and I can tell you it's not like that. The record says it's not like that. The way they play says it's not like that. And the numbers say it's not like that. Like, there is nothing.
If they win tonight, 20-6 would be. I don't even think did we predict that they would start off 20-6? I mean,
I do not think so. I do not believe so. I know. I would not have predicted them to win the Rockets game, although I would have had them lose the Bulls game. So I have to go dig up those preseason predictions. That's gonna do it for Locked On Nuggets. Appreciate you guys being with us. Thanks for joining us. Make sure to follow Swipa at Swipa Cam. Make sure to follow Ryan Blackburn as well. Go shout out Ryan and let him know you appreciate his work. Go read his work. Go read. Reading is good. We'll see you guys again after the game. We'll talk to you guys again next time on Locked On Nuggets.